All right. So let's take a look at this example over here. This example is on multiplication and division properties of inequality. Okay, so why flip-flop? Now, this is like the golden rule for inequalities. Okay, why golden rule? A lot of students like know how to do the math, but when they forget this property, then everything is messed up. So when you multiply or divide by a negative number, you flip the inequality symbol. You flip the inequality symbol. So what does that mean? Well, let's show that using examples. So if you're writing on the paper, copy this problem down over here. Okay. So in order to get the y by itself, that's the y, we need to get it by itself. We have to divide both sides by the number that comes with it, the number that was multiplied to it. So we divide by -7. There you go. Okay. So in the chat, if you're going to share an answer, you can find the less than symbol on the keyboard. If it has an equal to, then just type the equal to right next to it. Okay. So if you're going to divide this, that's just 1, right? They cancel. You bring down the y, and since we divided by a negative number, we flip. Nice one, Kayla. Y is equal. It can be equal to 5, but what's the original inequality symbol? So you also write this one. You also type the inequality and then flip it, right? So the original inequality is less than. So you now make it greater than and then equal to. Okay, and then Kayla said it's 5. So in the chat, you could go y is greater than equal to 5. Okay, so in the chat, that's how you write greater than or equal to. And I would understand that. Alrighty. Okay, so let's take a look at another example. What if you have a -5 at the bottom? So it was divided, right? So what's the opposite of dividing? What's the opposite of dividing? You multiply, right? You multiply. Okay. So we will multiply both sides by -5. There you go. Whatever you do to the left, you have to do to the right. So now we cancel this out. -5 divided by -5 will just become 1. So no more -5 on the left. Bring your x down. There you go. Now we again multiplied by a negative number, so we flip. We flip. All right. So originally it was less than or equal to, so now we go greater than or equal to, and then -5 times -5 is +25. All right. George V, you have the right answer to a different question, honey. Oh, I understand why you got that. You divided, huh? Okay. So since it was divided here on the left-hand side, we had to multiply both sides by -5. So this should be -5 times -5, honey. All right? Cool. All right. We always have to flip when there's a negative number. That's a good question, Brandon. I will not. Okay. What if I have two? Oh, what if I have 2y is less than or equal to -16? In this case, Brandon, you see a negative number, but do you flip? What do you think? If you divide here, Brandon, by 2, so you're dividing by a positive. Okay? So maybe like you need to rephrase how you said it. So we don't just flip when you see a negative number. Even if there's a negative number, but if you're not multiplying or dividing by a negative, don't flip. Make sense? So you only flip when you're dividing by a negative or when you're multiplying by a negative. Okay? Yeah. So I'm happy that you asked that question because it's a misconception. Thank you, honey. All right. Are there any more questions? Okay, I'm going to erase this one and let's look at what's next. Okay. All right. So I like that you guys are asking questions. Um because it tells me like, which part you are confused in. So I know our circumstances are not all perfect. The perfect would be like all of us can unmute ourselves, right? And just, ask a question anytime. But yeah. Okay, did you say you only flip if you divide and multiply by a negative? So when you divide or multiply by a negative. Okay. All right. So let's look at another example. All right. Did you ever work in summer or during your free time? So let's say you're earning $9.50 per hour at your summer job. How many hours do you need to work to buy a camera that costs 247? 247. Okay, let's define a variable first. We're looking for how many hours. Nice one, Justin. Okay, X is the hour according to Justin. Very good. Nice. Next, how will we write an inequality? How will we write an inequality? Every time you see the word 950 per hour, that means you're going to multiply. So that means you're going to multiply the number and the variable that Justin defined for us. So 950 per hour or times X. And then we have 247. But I want you to think about what symbol am I going to place here? Do I go less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, or do I go strictly less than or strictly greater than? So 247 is the cost of the camera, and you want to know how many hours it would take you to reach that quota. So that's the amount you're trying to reach. So what symbol are you going to use? Greater than or equal to? So then that means we're going to work more hours even if we have already spent 247, right? So although in real life, Kayla, we want to earn more than that, right? I get you. But in this problem, we just want to figure out, when can we stop? When can we stop working just so we could have enough for 247? So it's not greater than or equal to, but what do we put? We put less than or equal to. So once we reach it, we're good, right? And we can spend the rest of the money on another stuff. Okay, so now that you have the inequality, can you tell me what to do with it after? What am I going to do next? Type in the chat. I should connect my laptop to the TV so you can all have your screens on and I can see all of you, right? Okay, so what am I going to do? Divide 950. Awesome. I love it. Okay, let's go. Divide by 950. Divide by 950. Okay, help me out. I don't have a calculator with me. You guys do that. What is x equal to? Or what is x less than or equal to? Do that in your calculator. Anyone? 26, according to George V. All right, so I'm going to write it down over here. I run out of space. So x is less than or equal to 26. So we've solved it. Now let's interpret it. So this means that it will um, take 26 hours to earn How much are we trying to save? 247. There you go. So at 26 hours, after 26 hours of working, you're going to have enough money to buy what you want. And everything else after that, you can spend it on something else, right? Okay, I'll give you 30 seconds to take a picture or write down whatever you're missing. Yeah, last summer I taught ingenuity, and some of my kids were like working while they were on summer school. And some of them were like going on Zoom, during their break time. I just shared that because I want you to know that I do understand your challenges at this time. And thank you for joining us every meeting. I really appreciate that. Okay, going, gone. All right. Oh, now your turn. So you will do this later on your own. Okay? You will do this page later on your own. You can either type on this, or you can do it on your Cami and then turn it in, or you can take a picture of it on your paper and then you text it to me. Got it? All right. So I'm going to skip that. And here we go. All right. Now let's move on to a more challenging one. These are now called multi-step inequalities. Multi-step inequalities. Okay. So they're called multi-step because you see there's variables on both sides. Unlike earlier, the variable only stayed on one side. Okay. So what are we going to do first? The first thing we will do is to combine like terms on the same side first. There you go. And these ones too. Okay, can you type in the chat? What am I going to write, or unmute yourself? What is negative 8x plus 2x? Negative 6x. Awesome, Justin. All right, so negative 6x. And then I bring down negative 16. Next, negative 5x plus 7x. Negative 5x plus 7x. 2x. Very good, Kayla. All right. Now, we want to have the variables all on one side, preferably on the left. Okay? So what will I do with 2x? What will I do with 2x? I'm watching the chat. Just type your answers in the chat. Or if you guys are using your phone to Zoom, I do understand that. Divide. Let's think about that again. Luis also divide set. Okay, so we want to get rid of this, right? But we want to combine it with a negative 6 over here. So isn't this like only a positive 2x or a plus 2x? So what's the opposite when it's just being added? William said subtract. Awesome. Or negative 2x. Okay, cool. So we subtract 2x over here. We also subtract 2x over here. Nice one, William. Okay, so what's negative 6x minus 2x? What's negative 6x minus 2x? 4x, according to George V. And Luis said negative 8x. Let's think about that one more time. Which is right? So if they have the same sign, you add the numbers, right? And you copy the common sign. So, yeah, be careful. So one more time. It's negative 6. Oops. It's negative 6 and negative 2. If they have the same sign, you have to add the values and then you copy the common sign, right? So be careful with that. So Louise said negative 8x, and that's the right one. The answer is negative 8x. Okay. All right. So it will become negative 8x minus 16 is less than, since we emptied this out, that's going to be 0. And Louise further said it's negative 8x less than 16. Very good, Louise. You want to explain how you got the 16 on the other side? What did you do? What did you do, Luis? Oh, that's a good one, Valerie. Wait, can you explain why it's negative 8x? Sure, honey. Okay. So let's say, this is how I teach my daughter also. So it makes it visual. So let's say I'm at -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. Sorry, they're not evenly spaced, but that's -6, right? And then I'm going -2x farther. So that means I go 1 and then 2 more spaces. So from -6, I go negative some more, 2 spaces to the left. So that's why I end up at -8. Does that make sense? I hope I was able to explain that well. Okay, yeah. So if you have a -8 and let's say a +6, that's different. That's different. So meaning from -8, you go to the right 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you're gonna end up at -2, right? Okay, because you subtract if they have different signs and you take the sign of the bigger number. Okay. I hope I was able to explain that. All right. Luis, I asked you a question. I asked, why did you make it +16 on the right? Or anyone can answer that. So why did the -16 become +16? Because, and George V got the answer already. We added 16 to both sides. Very good, Kayla. So you add 16 over here and then you add 16 right there. Good. And George V wrote X and 2. Okay. And Juliet said moving it to the other side. Awesome. Okay. George V, we have to think about this again. You're dividing by a -8. So your 2 is correct, but you have to fix the sign. So when you divide a positive by a negative, does it become 2 or -2? It becomes -2, right? Okay. Thanks, George. Also, what do we do when we divide by a negative number? What do we do when we divide by a negative number? What do we do with the sign? What do we do with the sign? We flip the sign. Very good, Kayla and Brandon. So that means the less than will now become greater than. And this is your final answer. This is your final answer. All right. Now we're going to do an extra thing. So here on the right side, let's try to graph that one, because I haven't shown you how to graph by hand. Last time we only graphed it on decimals, but it's not fair, right? You're the only one graphing. I haven't graphed any. Okay, so let's graph this together. First, we mark off the number. So we want to show -2. So let's say this is 0. This is 1, negative. I'm skipping spaces, -2, so it doesn't look crowded. There. So how do you graph? The first thing you have to figure out is whether you will start with an open circle or a solid circle. Solid or open? Which one would it be, and how do you know? So if there's an equal sign underneath, that's solid, right? But if it's strictly greater than or less than, that's open. Because having the equal sign means it can be equal to that number. Okay, so let's graph this. We put an open circle at -2. There you go. All right. Normally students get that. And this is what the next step is, where they sometimes mess up. They don't know whether they will go to the right or go to the left, or shade right or shade left. Okay. So here are 2 ways you can do it. It says x is greater than -2. So where are the numbers greater than -2? We know that 5 is a possible solution, right? So where is 5? Is 5 to the left or to the right of -2? It's to the right. So if you're not sure, if you're guessing, stop guessing. Find possible examples. Let's say, oh, what other numbers, are greater than -2? I could go 10, right? I could go 16 and so on. Okay? So that means you're going to shade to the right. There you go. Okay. Now this looks like negative. It might confuse you. But that's +10, not -10. Okay, another way to graph it is the reason why I asked you to put the variable on the left is because if the inequality is facing the variable, then you go to the right. But if the inequality is pointing to the variable, that's point, sorry, it looks like pint. There. Then you go to the left. Okay? So that's, another shortcut that you can use to figure out whether your shade is going to the right or to the left. Okay, are there any questions? I'll pause. You were quiet for quite some time. I mean, yeah, like none in the chat for quite some time. Okay, can you try the one at the bottom? Try the example at the bottom. Okay. Once you get an answer, can you type in the chat? Once you get an answer, type in the chat. Any answer you got for the second one? Um, can we do independent work? You can multitask. Yeah. I'm gonna let you go in a bit, like a minute or two. I'm done. Yeah. Okay. So let's try this one at the bottom. Did anybody get an answer? Okay. So first, let's distribute this one, right? So 3 times x is 3x. 3 times -3 is -9. Minus 5x is greater than, that's -3x minus 6. Okay, so now let's combine like terms. 3x and -5x will become -2x. You subtract your 9. There you go. Greater than -3x. Oh, why did I put 36? Okay. Greater than -3x minus 6. Okay. So now let's combine like terms again. Preferably put all the variables on the left. You're going to add 3x right here. Okay, be careful with your sign numbers again. Different signs subtract. So +3 minus 2 will become +1. So that's x. Minus 9 is greater than, these will cancel, -6. There you go. Okay, so now what do I do with the 9? You add the 9 to both sides. So now you get x is greater than, what would this be? 1? You sure it's 1? 9 minus 6, isn't that 3? Right? Yeah, very good. All right, so if we graph that one, let's say put 0 here. 1, 2, 3. And since your inequality is facing the variable, the numbers greater than 3 are 4, 5, 6. So they are on the right hand side. And again, we start with an open circle. right? Because there's no equal sign underneath. All right. So I hope that you learned something new today, or if not, at least it clarified some misconceptions. Let's clear this ink. I'll give you 30 seconds. Take a picture if you need it. All right. In the next slides, I think you will have yeah, so you will have more examples. So you have to do the colored ones. Yeah, there you go. So in the colored ones, you write your solution and then you graph on the right hand side. So those are four examples. If you look at the next slide, oops. Yeah, and on the last slide, by the way, if you need like some shading, you can copy and paste these ones. You know, if you want to shade, you can also draw the number line if you're using the Google Slides. But if you're doing it on the notebook, that's okay. Text, text, text is the key. You have to take a picture and send your notes to me via text. Okay, so if you're not in the Remind, please make sure that you join our class. Alrighty, so I know you guys are excited to do your independent work. So the ones that are due today are your notes. You have to do these examples. There was one slide that I marked your turn and I skipped that. And then the ones with the colored boxes, you also have to do those on your own. There's two of them, right? Or four, 2 pages, two each. And then when you're done, um, go back to Schoology. And I tried to spread out the deadlines of, um, yeah, so we did the digital notebook today. Now you will do the puzzle. And if you have time, do the interleave review. Okay, but if you don't finish this one, I can move this, let's say, until tomorrow because it's just a review anyway. So I'll change the deadline of this so you can do it. Oh, we don't meet tomorrow, sorry. Yeah, Friday. Okay. All right. So with that, um, we're going to end this Zoom session. If you, I'm going to send yeah, if you're ready to do independent work, feel free to leave. If you are not in my Remind, you're missing out a lot. So I'm going to send the Remind again to everybody. Okay, join me in Remind, okay? If you're not there, join me today. All right. And if you guys are having a grade lower than a D, I'll be spending my afternoon today. You know, Wednesdays and Fridays are my short days. So how do you join? Right there, honey. Just text that thing at Arciaga4 to the number, and you'll be added automatically. If you have a D or an F, I will be like sending your parents text messages, the robot call as well. What's our assignments? Oh, honey, George V, they're right in here. So if you go to Schoology, the best way to look at homeworks, and this is just not me, okay, from all other classes as well, is you look at the right hand side of every course. See? It tells you right here. Okay? Or I think if you look at your calendar, it will also show you everything, right? It will show you everything that's due for all the classes. Okay, where do I text? On my phone? Yes, honey. Uh-huh. I want to be able to communicate with you wherever you are. So if there's an emergency, you're helping mom with grocery, you're taking care of your cousin, you can text me. And that's also one way that you don't get marked absent. So let's say you can't join Zoom for some valid reasons. If you text me, if you communicate with me, you won't be marked absent. Okay. Are the grades up to date? Luis, if you did not text me anything that I skipped, it should be up to date. Yeah. Um, so if there's something that needs to be graded, you have to text me, remember? Otherwise, I'm not going to go back to that 1 million boxes. because yeah. Uh-huh. So you have to text me if there's something that you turned in after I recorded it. Yes, honey. Okay. All right, bye everyone. Have fun and I'll see you again next meeting. Have a good one. Bye. Aiden, do you have time? Hey, Johnny, Jacob, I'm so happy you guys logged in today. You know what? I'm not going to close any assignment. So, how about like you start from today and then you go backwards? Okay, so you start from today and go backwards. That's the best way we can do makeup work. And for some of the assignments that you miss, you have two attempts to do them. So, I mean, whatever happened in the first 5 weeks, um, I'm not gonna like question you why you didn't do them, because I do understand that all of us have different challenges in life. And at some point in time, I also had to help my own daughter catch up with 23 homeworks. So believe me, I do understand what's going on. I may not have all the details, but more than anything else, you guys are beautiful human beings, and you for sure will be able to catch up with any missing work, okay? So I hope that you were able to join me in the Remind group. So if you have questions, you can text me anytime. Like anytime. I may not be able to answer right away, but when I can, I'll text you back. All right, Johnny, Jacob, hey Daniel, Kaylee, Jesus, if you guys have any missing work, please just start working on them, okay? All right, bye guys. Have fun and happy Wednesday.